Welcome. You are about to hear one of the most quietly powerful books ever written about what it means to truly live. William George Jordan was an American author, editor, and philosopher who wrote at the turn of the 20th century. He served as editor of some of the most respected literary publications of his day, including the Saturday Evening Post. And he believed with every fiber of his being that the greatest work a human being could ever do was the inner work, not the accumulation of wealth, not the pursuit of fame, but the patient, daily, courageous labor of becoming the finest version of yourself. Jordan wrote in a time when the world was changing rapidly, when cities were swelling with ambition, when men and women were hungry not just for bread, but for meaning. And what he gave them, in book after book, was this: a compass for the soul. The crown of individuality is perhaps his richest and most complete work. It is not a self-help manual in the shallow sense. It does not promise you quick results or easy formulas. What it offers is something rarer and more lasting. It offers you a vision of yourself at your best, and then, chapter by chapter, it shows you the forces that keep you from that best and the courage required to rise above them. Jordan writes about individuality not as selfishness or eccentricity, but as the full flowering of your truest self, your most honest self, the self that answers to something higher than the crowd, the gossip, the petty opinion, or the comfort going along with everyone else. He writes about mistakes, not with shame, but with wisdom, about happiness, not as something you find, but something you fight for and earn, about forgetting as a genuine art form, and about running toward life rather than away from it. His language is old in the best sense, rich, unhurried, beautiful, and alive. And in this narration, every chapter has been opened up so that his ideas can breathe, so that you can sit with them, turn them over, and carry them with you. So let us begin. Let us hear what William George Jordan has to say about the crown that belongs to every single one of us, and what it truly means to wear it. Chapter 1. Concentration finds a way. Every one of us carries two natures inside ourselves. One wants to push us forward. It longs for growth, for achievement, for becoming something greater. The other wants to pull us back. It reaches for comfort, for familiar, for the easy road. These two natures are always at work inside you, always competing, always vying for control. And here's the truth at the heart of everything that follows in this book. The one you concentrate on, the one you give your attention and your energy to each day, is the one that wins. It is as simple and as profound as that. The will is a deciding force. It is not your intelligence. It is not your talent. It is not even your circumstances. It is your will. A person can, through one supreme effort of concentrated will, change the entire course of their life. You may be that person. You can be, if you choose to be, because it can find a way, or can make, one where none existed before. History is full of ordinary men and women who were plodding along in a predictable, unremarkable way. When something shifted inside them, it was as if they woke from a long sleep. They looked at their lives clearly, perhaps for the first time, and they made a choice. From that day forward, they were different people. They developed capabilities they never knew they had. They rose in ways no one around them expected. The turning point is always a matter of choice, and that choice is always yours to make. Now, many people make the mistake of thinking that the direction of A, life is set by birth or by luck, or by the family you came from. We say things like, he is a chip off the old block, meaning he turned out just like his father or his mother. And yes, habit has enormous power over us. We are shaped, deeply shaped by the patterns we grow up with. But here is what is equally true. The moment a person masters the words I will, any habit can be broken. Any pattern can be changed. A man may have been careless and unproductive for most of his life, but from any given moment forward, he can begin to amount to something greater. Even older men and women have made sudden changes and accomplished things that left those who knew them astonished. Some people say they lost their opportunity. Perhaps they did in that specific form. But opportunity is not a one-time visitor that knocks and then disappears forever. Through sheer force of will, we can create conditions that bring new opportunities to us. The person who says, I will do it, and then actually does it, always has an advantage over the person who intends to act someday. Today, in a world where ideas move quickly and decisions must be made fast, it is often not the most talented person who succeeds. It is the one who acts, the one who moves, the one who concentrates all available energy and goes. Here is something worth practicing every single day. Make a habit to look for the good in everyone and in every situation you encounter. This sounds simple. It is not always easy, but it is one of the most powerful practices available to any person. When you look for the good in others, you encourage them. You help them see what is best in themselves, and you gain something too. Their goodwill, their trust, their openness. We truly do get back what we give out. Life tends to return to us a reflection of what we send into the world. When you form a habit of encouraging and lifting others, you will find that encouraging and uplifting thoughts return to you as well. Life gives all of us the opportunity to improve, but whether we take that opportunity, whether we truly grow, depends entirely on how close we come to living up to the best that is in us. A useful practice is to sit down at the end of each month and honestly examine your own progress. Have you moved forward? Have you used the time well? If not, discover why. Not to punish yourself, but to understand yourself and then do better next time. Remember this. When we fall short of what we planned, we lose that time permanently. Time does not wait. And most excuses, if we are honest with ourselves, are just poor substitutes for the action we chose not to take. Most things are actually possible. A hard task is often the most valuable one, because difficult things develop us in ways that easy things simply cannot. Do not shrink from what is difficult. It is often the very challenge that was designed by life itself to bring you into your fullest strength. Every person who is willing to pay the price of effort can be a success. The price is never in money. It is in commitment, in focused work, in the willingness to keep going when things are hard. The first quality you need is desire, a real, burning, specific desire to do something, to be something. Without that fire, nothing else follows. After desire comes learning how to do what you want to do. And after that comes a decisive act of actually doing it. The man or woman best positioned to accomplish great things is the one with a broad and well-stocked mind, not just narrow expertise in one small area, but genuine knowledge across many areas. Such a person brings something valuable to every situation they face. They see connections others miss. They are never caught unprepared. The secret of building a lasting career, a lasting reputation, is to always be improving yourself. Never ask how little you can get away with doing. Ask how much you can bring, how much you can learn, how much you can contribute. A person like that is always in demand. There is always a place for them. The person who rises to the top is not the timid one. It is not the slow and uncertain one. It is the gritty, determined, hard worker. The one with pluck, with persistence, with the courage to push through. When someone is chosen for a position of responsibility and leadership, they are almost never the most gifted person in the room. They are the one who has shown again and again that they produce results, that they stick to something and see it through, that miracles in business do not just happen. They are built inch by inch through untiring, concentrated effort. The successful person becomes comfortable seeing things accomplished. They expect success, they attract it, and they recognize it when it arrives. The person who has fallen into failure starts to expect failure. They attract it too without realizing it. Every person with the right training can be a success. It is a genuine tragedy that so many people rich in ability and talent never develop that potential. They are waiting for someone to help them, to notice them, to give them a push. But the world rarely works that way. When you have lost your grip, you must find again through your own will. No one else can do it for you. They can encourage you, but you must do the climbing. Think of this. Willpower is a better asset than money. It can carry you over the deepest chasms of failure if you give it the chance. The men and women who have risen to great heights have almost always done so against enormous obstacles. They were misunderstood. They lacked resources. They faced discouragement from the people closest to them. And yet, through sheer determination and resolute courage, they persisted. They kept going. And what they created in the end not only lifted themselves, but helped others too. There is only one way to accomplish anything. Go ahead and do it. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not wait for someone to make the wait easy. Obstacles are overcome most quickly by the person who sets their heart on a purpose and lets nothing interfere. The bigger you become on the inside, the smaller every obstacle appears. Always look at what you stand to gain by overcoming what is in your way. That perspective gives you the courage to move through it. Life will not always be smooth sailing. Parts of the journey will be rough. When those places come, do not put yourself out of commission. Keep going. How you handle the storms reveals the material you are made of. Never sit down in the rough places to complain. Think instead of the good stretches that are behind you and look forward to the smooth ground ahead. A setback is never the end. It is a step that must be overcome before the next part of the journey can begin. Chapter 2. The Self-Mastery, Self-Direction Power of Concentration. From a psychological standpoint, most of us are not what we could be, not what we should be. We have not trained ourselves in a way that promotes genuine self-mastery. We do not fully possess the self-directing power of concentration that is actually available to Every human mind, every balanced mind has within it the capacity to engineer, direct, and concentrate its own operations, both mentally and physically. But that capacity does not develop on its own. It must be trained. And most people simply have never been shown how. When the self-regulating faculties are undeveloped, impulses run free. Emotions spike and crash. Thoughts scatter. Habits form without intention. The mind becomes restless, reactive, unpredictable. And in that state, concentration is not possible. Not because the mind lacks power, but because it has never learned to manage itself. Think about the causes of poor concentration. There are really three. First, underdeveloped mental centers, which weaken the will. Second, an impulsive emotional mind, one that is easily excitable and hard to settle. Third, simply an untrained mind that has never been asked to hold steady. The good news is that all three of these can be addressed. All three yield to deliberate, patient practice. Strong emotions like excessive enthusiasm, strong dislike, intense, fear, and burning resentment make concentration almost impossible in the moment. They're like opening all the valves on a steam engine at once. The pressure that was building toward a useful purpose disperses in every direction, and nothing gets done. When you find yourself in the grip of any of these excited states, you have essentially stepped outside your own management. Many people mistakenly believe that drifting into a vague, passive, dreamy state is a form of concentration. It is not. That is closer to mental wandering. True concentration requires not emptiness, but directed focus. The mind that cannot center itself on a chosen subject and hold there is weak. But equally, the mind that cannot release a subject when it needs to is also weak. True mental strength is the ability to place your attention where you choose and to remove it when you choose. Concentration, first, last, and always means strength of mind. If you waste your time reading sensational stories, consuming breathless news that stirs up your emotions without giving you anything useful, you're actively weakening your powers of concentration. You are feeding the reactive, impulsive side of the mind at the expense of the steady, directed side. You will find it harder and harder to pilot yourself toward the life you want. Concentration can only be developed by watching yourself closely. All growth begins with careful attention. You must begin to observe your own thoughts, your own reactions, your own patterns of behavior. When you do this consistently, you develop what might be called the inner engineer, the part of you that can actually direct your mental operations rather than just being carried along by them. Only the trained mind can truly focus and to hold a thought steadily while all the faculties of the mind examine and develop it. That is what real concentration actually is. The person who cannot direct their own thoughts, who cannot sustain a purpose under pressure, who cannot hold themselves steady when someone provokes them, that person will never reach their full potential. They are not the master of their own mind. And if you are not the master of your mind, you cannot effectively create or manage anything outside it. In our world, the person who becomes irritable and reactive in difficult situations is actually a liability to themselves and to everyone around them. People of real character never allow themselves to become irritable. They carry an atmosphere of calm with them into every encounter. This is not weakness. It is supreme strength. Now, here is a practical insight. Nothing uses up nervous energy as quickly and wastefully as excitement and irritability. And here is what is fascinating. The person who is chronically irritable is never truly magnetic. They are never deeply admired or loved, even if they are feared or respected in a surface way. They never develop those finer, deeper qualities of character that genuinely draw people to them. Anger, sarcasm, and uncontrolled excitement literally weaken a person's influence over time. The energy that could have gone toward building something is instead consumed by the fire of unmanaged emotion. But when the mind can concentrate properly, when all the energy of every part of your being is flowing through one channel toward one purpose, something remarkable occurs. A real and powerful personal influence is generated. You become someone others feel and respond to without quite being able to explain why. This is not magic. It is the natural result of directed energy. Every one of us contains within us millions of cells, each with its own vital energy. When that energy is conserved and directed rather than wasted and scattered, the result is magnetism, vitality, health, and genuine influence. Just as a steam engine cannot run at full power with all its valves open, you cannot perform at your best while your energy is leaking in every direction. Close the valves, direct the power, give all available force to the task before you. Watch people who have a reputation for strength of character. Notice how still they are, how controlled their physical movements are, how little they fidget, how steady their eyes are, how deliberate their gestures. Now compare that to someone who has no such reputation. Notice the restlessness, the unnecessary movement, the constant expenditure of small energies in all directions. Those physical movements are not just physical. They reflect and reinforce the state of the mind behind them, and every unnecessary expenditure of nervous energy decreases the power available for real work. Developing concentration requires not just mental exercises, but physical ones as well. When you steady your nerves and your muscles, you steady your mind. Deep, slow, rhythmic breathing is one of the most powerful tools available. When the breath is shallow and irregular, the mind becomes scattered and unfit for concentration. When the breath is slow, full, and controlled, everything settles. The heart steadies, the circulation evens out, the mind becomes calm and capable of focus. You must also learn to concentrate your eyes, your ears, your hands. These are, in a sense, miniature centers of intelligence that respond to the direction of the mastermind. When you shake someone's hand with genuine attention and warmth, you communicate something that a lifeless or mechanical handshake never could. The physical gesture becomes an expression of concentrated presence. Great men and women share a common trait. When others are talking, they listen, not just waiting for their turn to speak, but actually attending to what is being said. Listening is one of the best exercises in concentration there is. It keeps the mind on a specific external signal and trains the attention to stay present Practice becoming aware of how you breathe in different emotional states. When you are irritable, notice how your breath tightens and shortens. When you are happy and open, notice how naturally and deeply you breathe. Conscious breathing can actually shift your emotional state and with it, your capacity to concentrate. Breathe deeply when you feel happy, and you amplify both the happiness and the strength it brings. Breathe slowly and deeply when you feel yourself becoming irritable, and you will notice the irritability beginning to dissolve. If you find yourself beginning to speak quickly or raising your voice, slow down. Speak more slowly and clearly. Control the pace of your words. Concentrate on maintaining your inner poise. You will improve your concentration every time you do this. When you meet people, adopt a composed and unhurried manner. Avoid the company of chronically nervous, irritable people until your own powers of concentration are stronger. Their energy is genuinely contagious in the wrong direction, and until you are strong enough to maintain your center in spite of their agitation, their presence works against your development. Mind and body are one system. You cannot master one without attending to the other. Concentration means control of both, and the reward of that mastery is a life lived on purpose, with full power, instead of a life lived at the mercy of every passing wind. Chapter 3. How to gain what you want through concentration. Someone might ask, quite reasonably, how can you get anything you want? Simply by concentrating on it? Is that not a kind of wishful thinking? And the answer is no, not at all, because there is an enormous difference between wishing and concentrating, and understanding that difference may be the most important thing you ever learn. Wishing is passive. It is soft and vague. When you merely wish for something, you reveal a subtle disbelief in your own ability to obtain it. You are looking at what you want from a distance, hoping that somehow it will drift toward you without any real effort or direction on your part. Wishing uses up mental energy just as real thinking does, but it produces nothing except the hollow feeling of wanting. Concentration is something completely different. It is active. It is directed. It is the full force of your mind and will aim deliberately and persistently at a specific target. When you truly concentrate on what you want, you mobilize every part of your mental and physical being toward making it real, and things begin to happen, not by magic, but by the natural workings of a focused, persistent intelligence operating in a world that responds to such focus. Never drift without helm or rudder. Know what you want, be specific and clear about it, then steer toward it with every ounce of your strength. That is not wishful thinking. That is purposeful living. And here is something important. Feel that you can accomplish what you undertake. Many people start things half believing they will fail, and usually they are right. Not because failure was inevitable, but because their half-hearted belief shaped their half-hearted effort, which shaped the half-baked result. Consider this example. A man goes to a store looking for a specific article. The clerk tells him they do not have it. A passive person says, "Oh well," and leaves. But the man who is truly determined to get what he came for asks whether the clerk knows where it might be found. He speaks to the manager. He finds out where to go and goes there. He does not accept the first obstacle as the final word. And in the end, he gets what he came for. That is the spirit of true concentration. It does not mean being aggressive or obnoxious. It means being genuinely, persistently committed to your purpose. Obstacles are not stop signs. They are tests of how much you really want what you say you want. There is a story worth telling. A man who became the head of a large bank started there as a young messenger boy. His father, who was a man of wisdom and vision, had a button made for his son with the letter P on it and pinned it to the boy's coat. He told him that P stood for president. Not president someday, maybe, if things worked out. President of that very bank. That was the goal. The boy was told to keep that thought in mind every single day and to do something each day that moved him a step closer to it. Each evening, his father would ask what he had done that day. The thought was never allowed to fade. His associates at the bank teased him about the button, tried to guess what P stood for, but he never told them. He simply kept concentrating, kept doing, kept believing, kept moving. And in the end, he became president of that bank. That is the secret. A clear, definite image of what you want. Daily attention to it. Daily action toward it. Unwavering belief that it is coming. And the willingness to not waste your mental powers in vague wishes or scattered pursuits. Do not try to satisfy every passing impulse. Concentrate your energy and your attention on something truly worth doing. The person who sticks to a purpose is never the person who fails. Power goes to the one who exerts power. As the philosopher Emerson expressed it, power to him who power exerts. Success today depends largely on concentrating on the inner law of force. When you learn to do that, you awaken thought powers within yourself that, when applied to your work, produce permanent and lasting results. You have not yet reached your limit in the use of your mental forces. You are operating with a fraction of what is available to you. The universe is woven through with forces and possibilities at most people never tap. You make your own place in that universe, and how significant that place becomes depends entirely on you. Through the indestructible and unconquerable law within you, you can in time accomplish all things that are right. Do not be afraid to undertake whatever you truly desire to accomplish, as long as you are willing to pay for it in sustained effort. Anything that is right is possible, and what is right and necessary will find its way to manifestation if you do your part. Do not say, "I wish I were a great person." That sentence is the language of limitation. Say instead, "I can do what I set my mind and will to do, and I will." Chapter 4. Concentration. The silent force that produces results in all business. Before we go further, we need to stop and truly reckon with something. We need to come to a full and honest appreciation of how powerful thought actually is. Not thought as an abstraction. Thought as a living, active force that shapes your body, your environment, your circumstances, and your life. Here is a story that has been told by medical observers. A prisoner condemned to die was offered a strange bargain. If he would agree to participate in a scientific experiment and survive it, he would be freed. He agreed. The experiment, they told him, was to test how much blood a person could lose and still live. In a darkened room, a small, nearly harmless cut was made in his leg. The sound of dripping was arranged artificially so that the prisoner believed he was bleeding steadily. Through the night, he lay there listening, believing that his life was slowly draining away. By morning, he was dead. He was not killed by blood loss. He lost almost no blood. He was killed entirely by the focused, sustained terror of his own thoughts. The body followed with a mind led completely, fatally. If thought can kill, it can also heal. If thought can destroy, it can also build. If thought can drain all vital energy from a body in a single night, it can also fill a body with strength, with clarity, with an almost unstoppable drive toward accomplishment. This is not metaphor. This is how human beings actually work. Through concentrated thought, you can make yourself into whatever you choose to be. You can greatly increase your efficiency, your strength, your capacity for work, your quality of life. You are surrounded at all times by thoughts, yours and others, and those thoughts exert a real influence on you. The negative, anxious, discouraged thoughts that swirl around in the world will affect you unless you deliberately build a positive and purposeful mental attitude that deflects them. Walk down any street and look at the faces of the people you pass. In those faces, you can read something of how those people have spent their lives. The face does not lie. It reflects the inner life like a mirror. And what is most striking is how many people appear to have drifted through their years without ever truly directing their own thoughts, without ever claiming the power that was available to them. But you can be different. Understanding the power of thought awakens possibilities within you that you may not yet have dreamed of. Your thoughts are building your environment right now. Today, they are shaping who is drawn to you and who is not. They are determining the quality of your relationships, the opportunities that find their way to you and the ones that pass you by. When your thoughts change, your environment changes with them. This is not wishful mysticism. It is a practical and observable principle. Good thoughts are constructive. They build, they create, they draw to you people, circumstances, and resources that align with what you are genuinely putting out. Evil thoughts, thoughts of distrust, of manipulation, of selfish scheming, are destructive. They bring to you exactly the kind of people and situations they attract. If your thoughts are tricky, tricky people will find you. If your thoughts are honest and generous, you will find yourself surrounded by the honest and the generous. If your thinking is consistently good, you will inspire confidence in those around you without even trying. Something in them will sense the quality of your mind and respond to it. You will be given opportunities that are denied to people whose thoughts are of a lower quality. You will naturally connect with people who are themselves doing meaningful work in the world. And when you need help, as nearly everyone does at some point, you will find that help available because you have earned the goodwill of people who matter. This is why concentrating your thoughts in the right channels is so important. It is not just about feeling good. It is about the very practical question of what kind of life you're building. A spiritual power, a cooperative force in the universe, is always available to the right kind of thought. When you are genuinely living in alignment with what is good and true and constructive, you can Attract what you need without enormous strain. You are not fighting against invisible forces. You are working with them. Think of sunlight and a garden. The sun shines on everything equally, but if you plant trees that block the light, your garden will not grow. The invisible helpful forces of life are similarly available to everyone equally, but our negative thoughts, our fears, our jealousies, our dishonest impulses, these are the trees we plant that block the very light we need. You have within yourself right now concentrated powers that, if developed, would bring you a quality of happiness greater than you can currently imagine. But most people rush through their lives, literally, pushing away the very things they are seeking. By concentration, by the deliberate, disciplined direction of mental energy, you can accomplish infinitely more and with far less effort than you currently believe possible. Look within yourself. You will find something extraordinary there, something that no instrument has ever fully mapped and no laboratory has ever fully explained. The greatest machine ever made is the one you carry with you everywhere you go. And as a final thought in this chapter, consider this. To speak wisely, you must first concentrate the full weight of your mind on the subject at hand. Great speech emerges from great internal silence. The person who speaks carefully, who does not pour out words carelessly, who pauses and thinks, who has learned the value of genuine silence, that person says things that carry weight, that linger, that change people. Practice the silence. Practice the interior stillness that allows your deepest and wisest thoughts to surface. Hold this thought in your mind. In silence, I will allow my higher self to speak. I will be true to my highest nature. I demand wisdom so that I may act wisely for myself and for others. Chapter 5. How concentrated thought links all humanity together. Success is not a mysterious gift given only to certain people. It is the result of a way of thinking. And the beautiful truth is that those ways of thinking can be learned. They can be practiced. They can be made your own. The moods of mind that produce success are within your control, and you can cultivate them deliberately. Here is something to truly take in. You've been growing and developing since before you could form a single conscious thought. The force that has driven that growth will never abandon you. It will keep urging you forward toward greater expansion, toward fuller expression, toward the person you are genuinely capable of becoming. New desires will arise as you grow, and those desires can be gratified. The power to direct your own development is within you. The barriers that keep you from the life you want are also within you. They are not outside. They are not circumstances or other people or bad luck. They are at their root barriers of ignorance, not ignorance in the insulting sense, but in the literal sense. We simply do not yet know what we are capable of. We do not yet know how to use the forces available to us. And that is precisely what this work is designed to teach. When you genuinely learn to concentrate and not just to focus superficially, but to truly bring the deep forces of your mind to bear on a single purpose, something shifts. You begin to feel yourself connected to something larger. The limiting beliefs about what you can and cannot do begin to dissolve. Fear, that chronic thief of human potential, loses its grip, and in its place grows a quiet, unshakable assurance that your efforts will produce results. And here is something even more remarkable. When you truly concentrate with right intent, your mental creations begin to shape your physical reality. Thought directed with intention and sustained will begins to mold circumstances. You become, in the fullest sense of the word, the master of your own environment. It is just as easy to surround your life with what you want as with what you do not want. This may sound surprising, but consider it carefully. The quality of your experience is almost entirely determined by the quality and direction of your habitual thinking. A person who thinks persistently about limitations will find limitations everywhere they look. A person who thinks persistently about possibility and purpose will find the road opening ahead of them, even when it was not obviously open before. There is one condition. What you desire must be right. If your goals are unjust, if they require the harm or exploitation of others, you are working against the deep currents of the universe, and the results, even if they seem good in the short term, will ultimately crumble. But if your desires are rooted in justice, in genuine service, in something that is truly good for you and for others, then you have the invisible support of forces far larger than yourself. And in that case, even temporary setbacks are not real defeats. They are only temporary appearances that do not reflect the final outcome. Never stop to think too long about temporary appearances. Maintain an unfaltering belief in your ultimate success. Do not let fear or anger set up camp in your mind. They are quite literally the most destructive forces you will ever face. They interfere with your concentration. They corrupt your judgment. They repel the very conditions and people that can help you. And they attract precisely the difficulties you most fear. There is no power so great as a conviction that comes from knowing your purpose is aligned with truth. That kind of conviction carries a force that circumstances cannot easily overcome. Be faithful in sowing the seeds of success in your thinking every day. Trust that the right conditions will develop. Do not demand to see the whole harvest before you have planted the seeds. Here is something else practical and useful. When you are not actively working on something, when you are resting or walking or doing something quiet, your intuition is often most active. Your best ideas often come not in the middle of furious effort, but in the intervals between effort, when the mind is relaxed and receptive. Cultivate those quiet moments. Do not fill every space with noise and stimulation. Let the mind breathe. Let the deeper intelligence that lies beneath the surface of your ordinary thinking have room to work. When you have learned to think in the right way, when your habitual thoughts are success of truth, of right action, you will make more progress with less effort than you ever made before. The laws of thought are as real and as reliable as any other law in nature. When you learn them and work with them, your results will multiply. One practical technique for those moments when fear or discouragement rises. Speak to yourself. Say, I am not alone. I am surrounded by forces that will help me to clear away what seems like an obstacle. Say it and mean it. Feel it becoming true. Courage is the same energy as fear, but aimed in a different direction. The difference between the fearful person and the courageous one lies only in the direction. of the will and the quality of the hope. Believe in success. Hope for it. Claim it. Use that same redirecting power to strengthen your desire, your ambition, your imagination, your trust. The truly concentrated person is also the genuinely happy person. They have no time to dwell on past mistakes, no energy left for fruitless worry. Their mind is always engaged, always moving forward, always building. Time does not drag for them. Life does not feel hollow or pointless. They are doing, creating, contributing. And that is the deepest source of lasting satisfaction. Chapter 6. The training of the will to do. The will to do is the greatest power in the world when it comes to human accomplishment. And no one, not the most eminent scientist or the wisest philosopher, can determine in advance what its limits are, because in truth, there may be no limits. The things we do now would have been considered complete impossibilities a few centuries ago. The safe assumption today is this: all things are possible. The will to do can be compared to electricity. We cannot see it. We cannot hold it in our hands, but we know it by what it causes. It is a power we can direct, and to exactly the extent that we learn to direct it, we determine our future. Every time you accomplish anything at all, whether you realize it or not, you have used the principle of will. You have said, even if only faintly, I will do this. And it was done. Every person has this power. It is the inner energy behind all. Conscious action. Your habits, good or bad, are the result of what you have willed. Your position in life, higher or lower, reflects what you have consistently chosen and willed toward. Your will touches every avenue of knowledge, every field of activity, every achievement that is possible for a human being. Consider this remarkable example. A farm woman, frail and considered, physically weak, was home alone one day when her house caught fire. With no one to help her, she removed objects from that burning house that it later took 3 strong men to move. It was not her physical strength that accomplished this. Her ordinary physical strength would not have been enough. It was a will to do. In that crisis, her will concentrated all available force on one urgent purpose, and the result was something that defied normal expectation. Genius is not the mysterious gift of the few. Genius is the will to do even small things with infinite care and full attention. Little things done well consistently open the door to bigger things. That is not a comforting platitude. It is a working principle. The will accomplishes its greatest results through deep concentration, through the ability to direct voluntary attention so steadily to a purpose that it does not waver until the aim is achieved. When you develop this, your will becomes a force that can accomplish almost anything. It is greater than physical force precisely because it can govern not only physical action but mental and moral action as well. Study yourself carefully. Find your greatest weakness. Then use your will deliberately and consistently to work on that weakness. Not all at once, not in some dramatic effort, but steadily, day after day. Eradicate faults one at a time. Build gradually a character and a personality of real strength. When a desire arises within you, pause. Think whether this desire leads to something genuinely good for you. If it does not, use your will to dissolve it. If it does, if it is a righteous and worthy desire, then summon every ounce of will you can bring and pursue it. Remove every obstacle that stands in your way. Do not stop until what you sought has been obtained. Many people are failures simply because they are slow to make decisions. They know what they should do, but they delay. They wait for more information, for a better moment, for someone else to take the first step. This is a weakness of will. Quick, clear, decisive action on worthwhile purposes is one of the most reliable predictors of success there is. The person who can look at a situation, decide quickly, and act immediately carries an enormous advantage over the person who hesitates. For the next week, practice making quicker decisions about the small things in your daily life. Set the time you intend to wake up and rise exactly at that time. No negotiations. Do what you said you would. Do when you said you would do it. By training the will in small decisions, you strengthen it for larger ones. Never procrastinate. Decide, even at the risk of occasionally deciding wrong. A person who decides and acts and sometimes makes a mistake is far ahead of the person who never quite gets around to deciding at all. Another common obstacle to success is the lack of initiative. So many people, even capable people, have fallen into the habit of simply imitating what others do, of following the path that was already laid out, of never striking off in a new direction based on their own original thinking. Life for such people becomes a monotonous repetition of the same round of duties. But those who are genuinely making progress are using their initiative to discover fuller and richer ways of living and working. You have as strong a will as anyone. That is not encouragement. It is the truth. Willpower is not a rare gift unequally distributed. It is equally available to every person. The difference between those who have strong will and those who appear not to is simply a difference in practice. What we call strong will is really just concentrated mental energy brought to bear on one point. The person who trains their will has it. The person who does not still has it, but in a latent and in used state. Once you have formed a plan, carry it through. Do not make indefinite plans. Make specific, clear, decided ones, and then do not abandon them without very good reason. The spirit of sticking to something, of seeing it through even when the road becomes rough, is the spirit that wins. Many people come remarkably close to success before giving up. If they had continued just a little longer, the breakthrough would have come. Do not diffuse your initiative across too many things at once. Concentrated effort through a single channel produces results. Scattered effort across many channels at the same time produces very little. Choose your direction, then pour yourself into it. Lack of perseverance is nothing but lack of will. It takes exactly the same energy to say I will continue as it does to say I give up. In that single moment of choice, a life can turn. Every time you allow your determination to break, you weaken it. Every time you hold it steady under pressure, you strengthen it. Know this. Use it. Never make an important decision when you are angry or when you are not in full control of your mental forces. In anger, you follow impulse. rather than reason, and the decisions made in anger are almost always ones you will regret. Make your important decisions when you are at your best, when you are calm, clear, and fully yourself. If you have a habit of flaring up quickly, here is a simple technique. Count backwards when you feel the anger rising. It requires just enough concentration to break the momentum of the emotional surge. Try it. It works. The person who learns to use their will is not at the mercy of circumstances. They are the director of their life. They decide and then they do. And in doing so, they step into the full power of the human being they were always meant to be. Chapter 7. The concentrated mental demand. The attitude of the mind affects everything. It affects the expression on your face. It determines the actions your body takes. It changes your physical condition over time, and it governs, to a degree most people do not fully appreciate, the course of your entire life. There is a force available within each of us that is called the concentrated mental demand. Do not let the term put you off. The concept behind it is both simple and profound. It means this: when you form a clear, strong, unwavering desire backed by the full force of concentrated thought and will, and you direct it steadily toward a specific purpose, you put in motion a power that can accomplish remarkable things. Like all forces, this one is governed by laws. It can be increased through consistent, systematic effort. It can be developed to a point that most people would find astonishing. The mental demand must be directed by every available power of the mind. Everything you have must go into the formation of it. When you concentrate so intently on what you desire that all distracting thoughts are pushed aside, you are developing a will capable of accomplishing whatever you set it to. Not someday, in proportion to how fully and steadily you concentrate. Here is the difference between the ordinary life and the life that earns a place in history. The ordinary person does ordinary things. They remain among the masses of mediocrity, not because they lack ability, but because they apply that ability only to what is already expected. The person who surpasses others, even by a comparatively small margin consistently applied, is classed as one of life's successes, and it is not usually the person with the longest legs or the most physical strength who wins the race. It is the one who can generate the greatest concentrated desire force. Think of an engine. As the throttle opens wider, the speed increases until it reaches its full capacity. Two runners begin side by side. They run at the same speed for most of the race, but one of them has a deeper, more focused desire to win. In the last moments, that desire force translates into physical output that the other cannot match. The winner may win by a fraction of an inch, but they win, and the quality of that desire, concentrated and sustained, made the difference. The world's most successful people have not always been physically powerful. They were not always born into privilege. They were not always considered brilliant by those who knew them early. What they had was resolution, an absolute refusal to let any setback dishearten them permanently, an ability to face difficulty without being turned from their purpose. They never lost sight of their goal, no matter what arose to obscure it. Within every one of us is the same silent force of wonderful power. if it is developed, it can overcome conditions that would seem, from the outside, to be completely insurmountable. It urges us always toward greater achievement. The more we become acquainted with it, the better we manage our circumstances, the more genuine courage we develop, and the deeper our desire grows for meaningful expression. No person need ever be a failure once they become genuinely conscious of this force. But without that consciousness, without the awareness that there's a directive power within you that you can strengthen and apply, your vision will be cloudy. External conditions will seem to push you around without your being able to understand why. Once you have formed your mental demand, never allow it to falter. The moment you begin to doubt, you break the connection between you and your goal. It is like cutting a current of electricity. The force stops flowing the moment the connection is broken. Take all the time you need to build a firm and clear foundation for your goal. See it clearly, feel it as real, and then hold it steadily. Do not entertain doubt. The moment doubt enters, force is lost, and that lost force is difficult to rebuild. The mental demand is not supernatural. It is concentrated natural power. It is available to you right now at no cost, requiring no special equipment or unique gift. It is simply the deliberate focusing of who you are on what you intend to create. Few people realize how far this power extends. It is possible through intense and sustained concentration on another person to communicate a thought to them without speaking. You have probably experienced something like this. You were planning to discuss a certain matter with a friend, and before you had a chance to raise it, they brought it up themselves. You sent a letter suggesting something, and the recipient had already acted on the same idea before your letter arrived. You thought of a person you had not seen in a long time, and then the phone rang and it was them. These are not coincidences. They are the results of mental demand launched through concentrated thought. The person who never wants anything gets very little. To demand clearly and resolutely is the first step toward having what you want. If you want a great deal, you must demand a great deal. The universe, so to speak, does not hand over the most significant things to the mildest requests. Reach high, concentrate your demand, anticipate its fulfillment. We are rewarded in proportion to our efforts. We become what we determine to be. We control our own destiny to a far greater degree than most of us have ever dared to believe. And remember this, the ordinary person of average ability, the common man or woman you pass on the street, can be genuinely successful, genuinely independent, genuinely free of the anxiety that shadows so many lives if they can manage two things. First, remain permanently dissatisfied with where they are and what they have accomplished, not in a miserable, self-punishing way, but in the way of someone who is always reaching for more, always growing, always believing that the next chapter will be better. And second, build in their mind the unshakable belief that the word impossible does not apply to them. That second thing, that belief, is what allows the mind to use its full power. Without it, you're operating with the brakes on. With it, everything changes. Chapter 8. Concentration gives mental poise. The person who has truly learned to concentrate is a well-poised person. They have a quality of inner stillness that is unmistakable. The person who has not learned to concentrate, whose mind wanders and scatters, is easily upset by small provocations. When the mind is dispersed, wisdom cannot flow from the deeper levels of intelligence into conscious awareness. There must be mental quiet before the full range of your own mind can work for you. When you can genuinely concentrate, you have something called peace of mind, not the peace of indifference, not the peace of emptiness, but the deep working calm of mind that is fully engaged and fully directed in that state. Fear does not easily take hold. Anxiety does not easily crowd out clear thinking. You're grounded in yourself, and that grounding makes you both more effective and far more pleasant to be around. If you are in the habit of losing your poise, there is a simple practice worth trying. The moment you feel your balance beginning to slip, say the word peace to yourself, not as a magic word, but as a deliberate redirection of your attention. Hold that thought. Feel what peace actually feels like in your body, and let that feeling lead you back to your center. With consistent practice, this becomes a reflex, and a person who can maintain their poise under pressure is a person who can function at their best when it matters most. Perfect concentration requires peace of mind, and so the reverse is also true. The practice of concentration builds peace of mind. They reinforce each other. When you are at peace, concentration becomes easier. When you concentrate well, peace deepens. Keep thinking peace. Keep acting peace. Keep working toward being at peace with the world around you, and one day you will arrive at a state where concentration flows naturally into whatever you choose to apply it to. Now, here is an important warning. Do not let concentration become an obsession that follows you everywhere and never lets you rest. Some people become so absorbed in their work, their business, their worries, that they carry those concerns into every waking moment and even into sleep. When they go to church, their mind is at the office. When they go to the theater, they cannot enjoy the performance because their business calculations are running in the background. When they go to bed, they think about their work instead of resting, and then wonder why they cannot sleep. This is not good concentration. This is compulsive worry wearing the mask of dedication. Concentration that is truly healthy is voluntary. You direct it. You choose it. And you can also set it aside. The ability to fully engage with your work during working hours and then fully disengage and rest is not laziness. It is self-mastery. The person who cannot put a thought aside when they need to rest is being controlled by that thought. And if your concentration controls you rather than the other way around, you are not a success. You are a slave. Never become so absorbed in anything that you cannot lay it aside and take up another. This is the very definition of self-control. Here is something about the relationship between concentration and memory worth understanding. Everything that passes before your eyes makes an impression on the deeper layers of the mind. But unless you pay genuine attention to something, you will not be able to recall it clearly. You see only what you actually attend to. You remember only what you truly thought about. This means that the quality of your attention determines the quality of your memory. More on this later, but hold the thought now. Take some time to examine your own habits. Many people have patterns of complaining, of finding fault with themselves or with others, of imagining that they lack the ability of those around them, of feeling that they are somehow less than others. These are thoughts of weakness, and every time you think them, you make yourself a little weaker. Every time you replace a thought of weakness with a thought of strength, you build yourself a little stronger. Our mental conditions are the primary cause of what we become. The moment you catch yourself thinking a negative thought, switch it immediately. If you find yourself sliding toward failure thinking, pivot deliberately to success thinking. You carry within you the seed of success already. Tend to it the way a devoted gardener tends to something precious and rare. Give it attention. Give it warmth. Protect it from the frost of doubt and the weeds of comparison, and it will grow. Here is a practical observation about the power of your own state. You can make the people you come into contact with feel what you feel. This is not a technique or strategy. It is simply the truth of how human beings interact. Your internal state radiates outward. If you enter a room feeling like a person of no consequence, that is how you will be perceived. If you enter a room feeling grounded, capable, genuinely present, and concentrated, others will feel that. You become a source of energy and steadiness that they are drawn toward. This is why cultivating your inner state is not a luxury or a self-indulgence. It is directly connected to your effectiveness, your influence, and your contribution in every room you enter. Look at the great figures of history. Without exception, they were people of great enthusiasm. And not only were they enthusiastic themselves, they could ignite that quality in others. Enthusiasm is latent in everyone. It is a tremendous force once it is genuinely awakened. Cultivate it through concentration. Set aside time in each day to go inward, to think deeply about your purpose, to feel the genuine fire of what you are working toward. Meditate with sincerity, and you will find that you can accomplish what you have genuinely committed to. This is a keynote of success. Think, speak, and act as you wish to be, and you will be that which you wish to be. You are what you think yourself to be, not what you appear to be to others, not what your circumstances suggest, what you genuinely, consistently think about yourself. You can control this, and that control is the beginning of everything else. Chapter 9. Concentration can overcome bad habits. Habits are the rails on which our lives run. They can carry us smoothly and efficiently toward everything we want, or they can lock us into patterns that keep us circling the same ground year after year without going anywhere new. And the extraordinary thing about habits is that we often do not even see them operating. They are the invisible architecture of our daily lives. Most people are controlled by their habits to a far greater extent than they realize. They do things in certain ways because they have always done them in those ways. They rarely stop to ask whether those ways are actually serving them. They seldom concentrate on why they behave as they do or consider whether there is a better option. And so the same patterns repeat year after year, decade after decade, with very little change. All habits are ultimately governed by the will. Consciously or unconsciously, Every habit you have was formed through repeated acts of will, through thousands of small choices made over time that eventually solidified into automatic behavior. The more you repeat a pattern, the more deeply it embeds itself into your nature. After a habit has been running for years, it feels like a part of you. It feels almost impossible to change, but it is not impossible. Any habit can be broken by strong, sustained concentration on its opposite. Consider this powerful observation. All of our life, as far as it has taken any definite shape, is but a mass of habits, practical habits, emotional habits, intellectual habits. These habits carry us irresistibly toward our destiny, whatever that destiny may be. We are, at our core, imitators and copiers of our past selves. We are bent and shaped by what we have repeatedly done. And each time we repeat a behavior, it becomes slightly easier to repeat again. It is as if we are folding a piece of paper. The first fold creates a crease. The second fold along the same line deepens it. After enough repetitions, the paper folds itself effortlessly along that line. Our nervous systems work very much this way. Every action leaves a trace. Every repeated action deepens a trace. Eventually, the action happens almost automatically. This is both the danger and the gift of habit. The danger is that bad habits, patterns of thinking and acting that do not serve us, grow stronger over time without our noticing. The gift is that good habits do exactly the same thing. They also grow stronger with repetition. They also eventually become automatic. And once genuinely useful, habit is automatic. It operates in your favor without requiring constant conscious effort. So the task is to concentrate on building the right habits and to actively replace the wrong ones. No one else is responsible for your habits. You are free to form the ones that serve you. If everyone truly understood this, what a different world we would live in. How much more success would be common. How much more happiness. The time to start working on your habits is now. We never become any younger. The best moment to plant a good habit is the moment you recognize the need for it. Here are 5 principles for working with habits that are worth understanding deeply. First, make your nervous system your ally, not your enemy. Work with the natural tendencies of the mind to form patterns and use that tendency to install patterns that help you. Second, when acquiring a new habit or leaving an old one, begin with as strong and decisive a start as possible. A weak beginning creates a weak pattern. Launch your new habit with full force of will. Make the early days as clear and deliberate and committed as you can. Third, never allow an exception to occur until a new habit is securely rooted. An exception before the new pattern is established is not a small lapse. It undoes a significant amount of the previous work. The new habit must be practiced consistently until it is stable. Then, and only then, can occasional exceptions be absorbed without destroying the foundation. Fourth, seize every opportunity to act on the new behavior you are trying to establish. Every time you act on your resolution, you strengthen the neural pathways that make the new pattern more natural. A resolution that evaporates without action is worse than no resolution at all. because it teaches your system that your resolutions do not need to be kept. 5th, keep the faculty of effort alive in you by doing something difficult every day simply for the sake of doing something difficult. This is a kind of daily training that keeps your will in condition. Like a person who pays insurance on their home, the daily effort may not seem to have immediate obvious benefit, but when the truly difficult moment arrives, you will have the trained will to meet it. You will stand steady when everything around you is shaking. There is no overestimating the power of habit in your life. Habit is the deepest law of human nature. No person is stronger than their habits. Either the habits are building your strength or they are diminishing it. There is no neutral ground. To overcome an undesirable habit, 2 things are needed: a trained will strong enough to hold its direction, and a clear replacement. Habit, because one pattern must be replaced by another. The space vacated by a removed habit does not stay empty. Fill it deliberately with what you want there. Dr. Oppenheim, a respected authority on this subject, put it this way: if you want to abolish a habit and its accumulated circumstances, you must grapple with it as earnestly as you would with a physical enemy. You must bring to the effort all your tenacity, all your fears, determination, even a passion for success that could be called relentless, because no human enemy can be as insidious, as persevering, and as patient as an unfavorable habit. It never sleeps. It needs no rest. It is like a living thing that grows with you, and it is best overcome not gradually and gently, but through firm, clear, decisive separation and the replacement of something better. When life is at its hardest, when everything seems to be going wrong at once, that is precisely when we are most vulnerable to forming bad habits. And it is exactly then that we must make the greatest effort to think and speak and act as we genuinely know we should. Even the smallest effort in the right direction at such a moment is backed by enormous power and will lift you to a realization you have never felt before. It is not in the easy moments of our lives that we grow most. It is in the hard ones. Remember always that you have within you an unlimited power ready to manifest in whatever form fills your need at that moment. If you can be still like a child who pauses in confusion and waits for something to clarify, the answer will come. You will know how to act. There is never any real need to hurry or to disturb yourself. The guidance is always there within if you concentrate on reaching it. Chapter 10. Business results through concentration. A successful business is not the result of chance. Neither is a failed one the result of bad luck. Most failures, if examined honestly in advance, could have been predicted, and most successes trace back to their origins, reveal not mysterious fortune but deliberate, concentrated effort applied consistently in the right direction. When you begin a business or any significant project, you may have only a rough outline of what you are doing and where it is going. That is natural. The details reveal themselves as you work. You must concentrate on those details as they arise. You must straighten them out one by one, and each one you resolve will reveal others at need. Attention. This is not failure or confusion. It is the normal process. of building something real. Desire is the energy behind all of this. A genuine, pure, intense, sustained desire to make your work succeed is the fuel that keeps you going when the process becomes difficult. But here is the crucial point. It is the person who actually does something with their desire, who carries it into concrete action, who succeeds. The person who only desires, who only dreams without acting, is what we call a dreamer in the limiting sense. Desire without action is just a comfortable fantasy. Every person who achieves success in business deserves it. They did not understand everything at the start. They faced problems they had not anticipated. They made mistakes, but they met each challenge as it came, did their best with what they knew at the time, and in doing so, developed a capacity for meeting the next challenge better. We become masters by learning to do well whatever we attempt. There is no other path. The person who truly knows their business can direct it with a kind of confident intelligence that creates real results. They do not need to be in the middle of every activity to know what is happening. Their understanding of the work is deep enough that they can tell from the patterns, from the numbers, from the atmosphere of the operation, whether things are proceeding correctly. And when they are not, they know exactly what adjustment to make. Business success depends on well-concentrated efforts. You must bring every mental resource you have to bear on the work. And here is something encouraging. Mental forces grow through use. The more you bring to bear on today's challenges, the more you will have available for tomorrow's. If you are currently working for someone else and dreaming of building something of your own, start by thinking carefully about what you truly want to do, not vaguely, specifically. And once you have a clear sense of it, let that desire pull you toward it. There's a law of attraction at work in all of this. Once a genuine desire is formed and sustained, you begin both consciously and unconsciously working toward its materialization. Set your heart on your purpose. Concentrate your thought on it. Direct every available effort toward it with full intelligence. And in time, your ambition will be realized. Feel yourself as a success. Believe that you are succeeding. Put yourself in the attitude of someone who expects to be recognized and valued, and the thought current you create will draw to you what you need. Do not be afraid of big undertakings. Aim high. If you fall a little short of your highest aim, you will still have accomplished something significant. The successful business attitude is not merely a technique. It is a cultivated way of being. It is the expectation of great things from yourself and from those you work with. It is the belief that the work matters and that doing it well is its own reward, quite apart from the money it generates. That attitude, when genuinely held, causes people to measure up to the best that is in them. It creates an environment in which everyone around you naturally rises. Rely on your own judgment. Your opinion is as good as anyone else's. When you reach a decision, stand by it. Do not let every passing doubt make you reverse your course. The person who can make a decision based on their best thinking and then learn from every mistake develops a balanced, reliable judgment that others trust. They become known as someone who knows what they want. And in business, that quality is rare and precious. A successful business is not complicated to build if you can concentrate all your mental forces upon it. It is the unsettled person, the one who does not clearly know what they want, who struggles, fret, and worry and suspense are what drain your nervous energy, not the work itself. Doing the work with full engagement and concentration is actually restorative because you are living and working in the present moment, doing real things with real focus. As you attend properly to each day's responsibilities, you develop the capacity for tomorrow's greater work. It is gradual development that makes possible the carrying out of genuinely large plans. Think of your work in terms of consistent forward progress rather than dramatic leaps. Each day should bring you one step closer to where you are going. Hold that in mind, and in time you will look back and be surprised by how far you have come. Never be content to build only for today. Plan ahead. Think forward. Every great business that exists in the world was built by someone who thought ahead, who could see in their mind a shape that did not yet exist in the world, and who worked steadily to bring it into being, detail by detail, step by step. Clear idea first, material result following. If your business is beginning to exhaust you, something is wrong. Work done in alignment with your genuine strengths and passions should not deplete you beyond what normal rest can restore. If you are chronically exhausted, you may be in work you're not suited for, or you may be working against yourself in ways that need examining. Find the work you truly love. Pursue it with full engagement. And while you work on your own development, try also to broaden the vision of those around you. Expand the horizons of the people you work with, because in expanding their vision, you invariably expand your own. Chapter 11. Concentrate on your courage. Courage is the backbone of a human being. Without it, everything else is precarious. With it, even limited talent can accomplish remarkable things, because a courageous person draws to themselves all the qualities of genuine strength, confidence, persistence, clear thinking under pressure, the steadiness to keep going when the outcome is uncertain. The person without courage draws the opposite: vacillation, doubt, hesitancy, a constant sense of unsteadiness that prevents real commitment to any course of action. And this is not an accident. It is the natural result of what that person is broadcasting internally and externally through their habits of thought. Lack of courage creates financial difficulties. It creates mental and moral difficulties. When a new problem presents itself to the courageous person, they see it as something to be solved, a challenge to rise to. When the same problem presents itself to the person who lacks courage, they immediately begin searching for reasons why it cannot be solved. And their mind, highly skilled at finding exactly what it is looking for, obliges. It finds the reasons, and failure follows, not because failure was inevitable, but because it was expected and therefore prepared for. Look upon everything within your power as a possibility rather than just a probability. When you treat something as impossible, you immediately draw to yourself all the elements that contribute to failure. You stop trying, or you try without real conviction, which amounts to the same thing. Lack of courage destroys confidence. It destroys the forceful, resolved attitude that is so important to success. What is courage, actually? It is the will to do. Nothing more and nothing less. It takes no more energy to be courageous than to be cowardly. They both require effort. The difference is entirely in the direction of that effort and the quality of thought behind it. Courage concentrates the mental forces on the task at hand and directs them thoughtfully and steadily toward the desired result. Cowardice dissipates those same forces, scattering them through anxiety and avoidance, and invites the failure it fears. Since we are, as we have already established, creatures of habit, we should be careful about spending time with people who habitually lack courage. Cowardice, like courage, is genuinely contagious. If you regularly spend time around people who approach challenges with fear and doubt, that pattern will begin to infect your own thinking. Choose your associations with some degree of intentionality. Start today with the idea that there is absolutely no reason why you should not be courageous. Fear thoughts will arise. When they do, cast them off immediately. Do not entertain them. Do not examine them from every angle looking for reasons why they might be justified. Just reject them. Form the habit of never thinking anything unfavorable about yourself or your prospects. Every time a doubt crosses the threshold of your mind, banish it. Here is an affirmation worth repeating regularly. I have courage because I desire it, because I need it, because I use it, and because I refuse to become the kind of weakling that cowardice creates. There is no genuine justification for surrendering your courage. The difficulties you will face without it are far greater than any difficulties you will face with it. The moralist who says that the only thing to fear is fear itself was saying something exactly true. Never let another person's doubts about you affect your belief in yourself. Other people do not know what you are capable of. In truth, you do not fully know yet either, not until you have genuinely tested yourself. And if you do not yet know the full extent of your own capability, how can anyone else's opinion of your limits be trusted? Do not let anyone else set a ceiling over your life. Almost every truly wonderful achievement in human history was accomplished after it had been thoroughly and confidently demonstrated by the people who should have known that it was absolutely impossible. The men and women who did those things simply did not believe the impossibility. Once you understand the real law of what you can accomplish through concentrated will and sustained effort, all things become possible. The moment you allow someone to pull you away from what you believe is right, from your own best judgment and your own best direction, you lose the confidence and courage that would have carried you through. You become the directed instead of the director. You inherit someone else's timidity in exchange for your own strength. It is not a trade worth making. Instead of concentrating on fear, on want, on poverty, on sickness, concentrate on exactly the opposite. Do not doubt your own ability. You have it. You have more of it than you know. Fear paralyzes energy. It blocks the flow of the forces that are always available to support success. Fear is the worst enemy you will ever face. Not the world, not other people, not circumstances. Fear operating from the inside. There are very few people who truly know what they can accomplish. They have never fully tested themselves. But when you believe with all your mind, your heart, and your soul that you can do something, you build within yourself the courage to live up to that belief. And that living up, that sustained, committed action in the direction of what you believe in brings you more than halfway to success already. Obstacles, big and small, will arise. Resolute courage overcomes them. Nothing else does. Strong courage eliminates opposing forces by calling into action the stronger forces that exist within you. Courage is yours for the asking. All you have to do is believe in it, claim it, and actually use it. When you face difficulties in your work or your life, believe deeply that you will succeed. Say that you will succeed, and then work with every ounce of your energy to make it so. Difficulties dissolve in front of the courageous. A single genuinely courageous person can ignite that quality in an entire group of people because courage is contagious. The courageous person overcomes the trials and temptations of their life. They earn the respect of those around them. Their judgment is sound. Their character is forceful, and they become a source of direction and inspiration for the community they serve. When depression or melancholy arrives, and it will sometimes, do not yield to it passively. Choose deliberately to concentrate your thoughts on something higher, something that genuinely uplifts you. You can change your mood through the directed use of your will. There is within all of us an inherent power capable of overcoming ignorance and fear, and every difficulty that comes to us is ultimately an invitation to discover more of that power. Chapter 12. Concentrate on wealth. It was never intended that human beings should live in poverty and want. When wealth is obtained rightly, through honest work and genuine service, it lifts life. It opens possibilities that struggle and scarcity close off. It allows for the development of gifts and capabilities that simply cannot be developed when all available energy is consumed by bare survival. Everything in life has its right use and its wrong use. The forces of the mind, like money, can be directed toward what is good or toward what is harmful. A certain amount of rest restores and renews us. 2. Much rest degenerates into laziness. The same principle applies to everything, including wealth. If wealth comes to you through honest means, through service that genuinely helps others, through the right use of your gifts and energies, you will be enriched by it in more than the obvious material sense. If it comes through exploitation or deceit, the very act of obtaining it plants the seeds of its loss. The first step toward acquiring wealth is to surround yourself with helpful influences. This means building your environment as far as you can with things and people that inspire and elevate you. It means placing yourself among people of culture and genuine achievement, and being shaped by what you encounter there. Your environment matters enormously. The conditions in which you work and live affect the quality of your thinking, and the quality of your thinking determines your results. Most of the great achievers in history have had adequate material resources. Not all of them started that way, but they obtained what was needed because they used their mental forces well. Without some degree of financial ease, the sustained, creative, reflective work that great achievement requires is genuinely difficult. Wealth is usually the fruit of achievement. It is not, however, automatically the result of hard work. thousands of people work extraordinarily hard and never become wealthy. Others accomplish far more with far less physical effort. The difference is usually in how well they use their mental forces. The person who can only work with their hands will always be subject to the direction of the person who can also work with their mind. Consider the mistake of a man who walks an hour each way to save 10 cents on transportation. He saved the fare, but he spent an hour and a half that could have been used concentrating on how to improve his situation. The economy is false. The same energy applied to overcoming unfavorable business conditions could have set him firmly on the path to real prosperity. One of the great mistakes people make is associating primarily with those who do not call out or develop the best that is in them. When social entertainment becomes a primary focus of life, when pleasure and spending dominate the attention, people develop habits of waste rather than habits of productive effort. The God-given powers that could have been built into something remarkable remain undeveloped, and the financial consequences are usually just as serious as the personal ones. Here is a truth that is both obvious and consistently overlooked. Thoughts of wealth attract the conditions and people and opportunities associated with wealth. Thoughts of poverty attract the conditions and people and circumstances associated with poverty. This is not mysticism. It is the simple operation of the law of mental attraction. Whatever you genuinely expect, you will unconsciously move toward and unconsciously prepare for. You will notice what aligns with it and miss what is not. One man who had spent a decade giving lectures on prosperity was still nearly broke. His lectures were good. His advice was sound. But he dressed poorly. He held his events in poor surroundings. He spoke of prosperity while broadcasting the unmistakable vibration of lack. He had not realized that his thoughts, his environment, and his presentation were all working against the very prosperity he was teaching about. When this was pointed out to him, something shifted. He understood for the first time that thoughts are moving forces, that thoughts of wealth actually attract wealth-producing conditions, and that the outward expression of those thoughts, the environment you create, the quality you bring to your presentation, the confidence in how you speak and carry yourself, all of this matters. Many people believe that if you already have money, it is easy to make more, but this is not necessarily true. 9 out of 10 people who start in business fail. Having money does not guarantee knowing how to use it well. The person who built their wealth from almost nothing has something the person who inherited it often lacks: the deep, experiential knowledge of what it takes to create value, to manage resources, and to persist through difficulty. Today's business success requires foresight, sound judgment, grit, firm resolution, and settled purpose. But do not ever forget that thought is as real a force as electricity. Let your thoughts be such that you are genuinely contributing something of value to those around you, because a person who tries to take everything and give nothing becomes so narrowed and contracted by the habit of taking that they eventually cannot even enjoy what they have accumulated. What we take from others will in time be taken from us. All obligations must ultimately be met. The final step toward real and lasting wealth is the same as the first: Surround yourself with good influences, good thoughts, good health, good working and living environments. Associate deliberately with people of genuine ability and achievement. Bring your thinking about business into alignment with theirs. And in time, through that alignment and those associations and your own concentrated effort, you will find your proper place. And from that place, you will take pleasure not only in what you have built for yourself, but in making the road easier for those who are just beginning their journey. Chapter 13. You can concentrate, but will you? All of us have the ability to concentrate. The capacity is there in every human mind. The question is never can you concentrate. The question is will you? And that is a very different kind of question. It is one thing to be able to do something. It is another thing entirely to actually do it. There's far more in usability in this world than usability. More talent is wasted than is employed. More potential goes to the grave undeveloped than is ever fully expressed. And the reason is almost never lack of capacity. It is lack of will. Think about this carefully. There are comparatively few truly successful people in the world, but there are enormous numbers of ambitious people. The two groups are not the same. Ambition without will is just a pleasant fantasy. So, why do the majority of ambitious people not succeed? The answer, in most cases, is that the fault is their own. They have had opportunities, sometimes better opportunities than those who did succeed, but they did not bring to those opportunities the full, concentrated, determined effort that turns an opportunity into a result. What would you like to do that you are not doing? Be honest with yourself. If you feel that you should be further along than you are, why are you not? Study yourself carefully. Learn your shortcomings. Not to criticize yourself, but to understand yourself. Sometimes only a small adjustment, only a trifle of a different approach, is what stands between where you are and where you want to be. Have you been waiting for someone to lead you, to make a way for you, to recognize your potential and create an opening? If so, it is time to concentrate your energy in a new direction. Success requires two things absolutely: energy and the will to succeed. Nothing can replace either of these. No talent, no circumstance, no luck, energy and will. That is the formula. Most of us would not have an easy path. Do not expect to find one. The hard passages are not signs that something has gone wrong. They are the very experiences through which your courage and your moral strength are being built. The people who drift through life in a comfortable, indolent, unchallenged way never develop that strength. They have never truly faced conditions. They do not know what they are made of. The world is not meaningfully improved by their presence. We must make favorable conditions rather than waiting for them to somehow arrange themselves. The person who says it cannot be done is not the one who gets there. The one who gets there is the one who goes ahead in spite of doubts and contrary advice and demonstrates that it can be done. There is nothing that can resist the force of genuine perseverance. No obstacle is truly insurmountable if you fully commit to thinking of a way through or around or over it. But the person who believes the obstacle cannot be overcome will not even try in any real sense, or they will try in such a half-hearted way that the attempt is almost designed to fail. Many people will not even begin an undertaking unless they feel certain in advance that they will succeed. This is a profound mistake. Who among us can know in advance all the variables that will come into play? There may be an obstacle today that will dissolve tomorrow. There may be help available that you cannot yet see. The trouble is that most people, the moment they see their path blocked, lose heart. They forget that there is almost always a way around difficulty if you are determined and creative enough to find it. Most people are beaten before they start. They anticipate obstacles and look for them rather than looking for the means to overcome them. And in doing so, they multiply those obstacles. They make harder what might have been manageable simply by the quality of attention they bring to the challenge. Have you ever taken on something you expected to be very difficult and found it much easier than you anticipated? That experience is more common than people realize. The things that look formidable from a distance often reveal surprising solutions when you are actually standing in front of them, fully committed and fully present. Start every journey with the assumption that the road will be clear, and that if it is not, you will clear it. Every person who has ever amounted to anything has had to clear their way, and they had fewer advantages than you have access to today. The keynote of success is to do whatever you have decided to do. Make the decision and then move. Do not be derailed by rebuffs. Rebuffs cannot stop the genuinely determined person. Success is not accidental. It is bought through enormous resolution, through concentrated and wholehearted effort, sustained over time. As a philosopher Goethe said, he who has a firm will molds the world to himself. And as Victor Hugo observed, people do not lack strength. They lack will. It is not skill alone that wins. It is activity. It is determination. There is no such thing as failure for the person who does their genuine best. No matter what you may be currently doing, no matter how far the work seems from where you want to be, do not lose heart. The tides are always changing. They will turn in your favor if you are genuinely willing and genuinely working. If you are the person you should be, someone is looking for exactly what you have to offer. Be alert for those moments of recognition. When they come, be fully present. Show clearly that you have the capacity to concentrate your powers, that you are the real article. Show no uncertainty, no fear, no doubt. The person who is certain of themselves, who is grounded in their own ability and purpose, is bound to move forward. No circumstance can permanently stop them. Chapter 14. The art of concentration by means of practical exercises. Now we move from the principles of concentration to the practice of it, because all the understanding in the world is only valuable if it is actually applied, and the application requires specific, deliberate, consistent practice. Begin with this. Select a single thought and see how long you can hold your mind on it. Use a clock at first to track the time honestly. If you choose to think about health, for example, think about health fully, richly, specifically. Think of it as the most precious thing in the world. Think about what it enables. Think about how it feels. And the moment any other thought begins to intrude, gently but firmly push it back out. This is harder than it sounds, but with daily practice, 10 minutes at a time, you'll find it becoming easier and the concentration itself will begin to produce real effects. Here is a principle of enormous importance. The habit of forming clear mental images is one of the most powerful tools a human being can develop. It has always been used by successful people in every era of history, but most people do not realize its significance. You are, at every moment, acting according to the images you most consistently hold in your mind. If those images are of poverty, of weakness, of disease, of failure, your life will reflect those images. If they are of health, of strength, of success, of purposeful achievement, your life will tend toward those instead. In deep concentration, the mind attunes itself to something much larger than its ordinary daily operations. You become connected, genuinely and practically, to a creative intelligence that flows through you and vitalizes whatever you are working toward. This is not a religious statement, though it may complement religious belief. It is a description of what happens in the mind of the deeply concentrated person. They access levels of their own intelligence that are simply not available in the scattered, distracted state that most people spend most of their time in. There's a level of concentration deeper than simply fixing attention on one subject. At its deepest, concentration brings you into a state of attunement with what we might call the infinite dimensions of your own intelligence. In this state, genuinely new ideas arise, solutions that were not visible from the ordinary level of thinking suddenly become clear. Very few people ever reach this depth regularly, but it is available to everyone who is willing to practice with patience and persistence. Now for the specific exercises. After reading something inspiring, when your mind is already elevated and open, is the best time to practice deep concentration. Lie down comfortably. Let every muscle release. Breathe slowly, filling your lungs fully and exhaling evenly. Do this for several minutes, letting each breath cleanse and quiet the whole system. Then, as you become calm and receptive, concentrate on whatever you wish to work with. Feel it as already real. Hold that feeling steadily. Do not allow doubt or fear to enter. This practice, done regularly, can change your life in ways that will surprise you. The exercises that follow are designed to train the will and the attention through the physical body, because the mind and the body are one system, and steadying the body steadies the mind. Exercise 1. Sit in a comfortable chair and remain as completely still as possible. At first, 5 minutes is enough. Work toward 15. Do not strain. Simply observe yourself, and every time you notice an unnecessary movement, let it stop. The discipline of keeping the body still develops the same quality of steady, patient attention. In the mind, exercise 2. Extend one arm to shoulder level, pointing to the side. Fix your gaze on your fingertips and hold the arm completely still for 1 minute. Work gradually up to 5 minutes. Then do the same with the other arm. The act of fixing your attention on maintaining stillness trains the focusing power of the mind. Exercise 3. Fill a small glass with water and hold it in your outstretched arm. Fix your eyes on the glass and try to keep the arm so steady that no movement can be seen in the surface of the water. Start with 1 minute. Work toward 5. the close attention required. For this trains concentration rapidly. Exercise 4. Watch yourself throughout the day and notice whether your muscles are unnecessarily tense or restless. See how poised and relaxed you can remain in all circumstances. Notice involuntary movements, facial expressions you make habitually, tension you carry without being aware of it. Stop unnecessary gestures. Cultivate a calm, composed physical presence. The outer poise becomes inner poise. Exercise 5. Place your fists on a table in front of you, backs of, the hands down, with full, deliberate attention on each movement. Slowly extend first a thumb, then each finger, one at a time, until the hand is fully open. Then reverse the process, slowly closing each finger until the fist is formed again. Keep your complete attention on each tiny movement. Do this with each hand. The exercise builds both physical control and the habit of concentrated attention. Exercise 6. With your right hand on your knee, all fingers closed, except the index finger which points forward. Slowly move that finger from side to side, keeping your full attention on its tip throughout the movement. These exercises may seem tedious. That is precisely the point. It is easy to concentrate on something interesting. The real development comes from learning to give full attention to something that demands nothing from you. Uninteresting objects make the best exercises because they force the will to act without the support of natural interest. Exercise 7. When you are outdoors, concentrate on the smell of things. Identify different scents. Then choose one and shut everything else out, giving your full attention to that single fragrance. This intensifies the sense and develops the ability to direct concentration through the senses. Exercise 8. Lie down comfortably and concentrate on the beating of your heart. Picture the blood moving through every part of your body. Feel it reaching your extremities. This exercise builds an extraordinary inner awareness, and with practice, a genuine degree of physical self-regulation. Exercise 9. For those who have trouble sleeping, try this. Set a full glass of clear water on a table near your bed. Sit quietly and gaze into it. Think about how perfectly still the water is. Picture yourself becoming equally still. Let the nerves quiet. Let the breath slow. You may also try picturing yourself as some quiet, inanimate thing in a peaceful setting, a hollow log in a cool, silent forest. The concentration breaks the anxious thought patterns that keep people awake and allows the natural sleep response to take over. Exercise 10. Observe yourself throughout the day for unnecessary physical habits. Thumping fingers, tapping feet, fidgeting with your clothes or hair, frowning unnecessarily. Every crease made in the face repeatedly will eventually become permanent. Practice stillness. Cultivate poise. Stop the useless movements, and you can conserve real energy for controlling the worry habit. The moment you find yourself worrying over a trifle, concentrate for a moment on how genuinely unnecessary that worry is. Breathe deeply. Say to yourself, I am master of my mind. I will not be enslaved by this trifle. And move on for controlling the temper. Ask yourself, does this accomplish anything? Does it improve anything? Or does it only destroy my poise and damage those around me? The thought that impresses on another person the expectation of a mistake will make them more likely to make one. The thought that impresses patience and confidence on them will help them improve. Keep the following morning affirmation close. I am going to try today not to make a useless gesture or worry over trifles or become nervous or irritable. I intend to be calm. Whatever circumstances may arise, I will control myself. I resolve to be free from all signs of lack of self-control. Review your day each evening, not harshly, just honestly. Did you live up to this? Where did you fall short? Then begin again tomorrow. The habit of self-control, practice this way, becomes securely rooted. And once it is truly rooted, it becomes your default way of being. When reading, read with full attention, not skimming. Attend to every sentence, and after reading a section, practice recalling it. Write down the main ideas. Retell them aloud. This discipline of recall builds both concentration and memory simultaneously. The person who learns to concentrate fully gains control over their body, their mind, their impulses, and their habits. They stop being the slave of their inclinations and become the master. From that mastery, everything else becomes genuinely possible. Chapter 15. Concentrate so you will not forget. Forgetting is not a failure of memory. It is a failure of concentration. At the moment when an impression should have been formed, we remember only what has made a deep impression on us. And impressions are deepened by attention at the moment of receiving them. When something is given to us, when a task is assigned, when an important piece of information arrives, if we receive it passively, without genuine attention, without associating it to something else, without making it real and specific in our minds, it slips away, not because our memory is poor, but because the impression was never fully formed. Here is a simple example. A wife hands her husband a letter to mail. As he leaves the house, he tucks it into his pocket absently, his mind already elsewhere, and promptly forgets all about it until he gets home that evening and finds the letter still in his coat. If at the moment the letter was placed in his hands, he had said to himself, I have this letter. I will pass a mailbox at the corner of such and such a street. When I reach that corner, I will drop this letter. The impression would have been made. The memory would have been linked to a specific physical cue. And when he reached that corner, the memory would have surfaced naturally. The same principle applies to everything more complex as well. If you are told to call on someone during the day, take a moment at the time. You receive that instruction to picture exactly when and where in your day that call will happen. Connect it to a specific time, a specific route, a specific landmark. The impression is then made through multiple associated pathways, and any one of them can retrieve it. The mind operates by laws of association. Ideas that enter the mind at the same time tend to emerge together. Each one helps to call up the others. When you deliberately build these associations, you are working with the natural operation of the mind rather than against it. You are making the memory work for you instead of hoping it will cooperate on its own. The real reason people cannot remember what they intended is that they failed to concentrate at the moment the intention was formed. If they had given it genuine attention for even a few seconds, if they had connected it to something concrete and specific in their environment, the memory would have been available when needed. You can train yourself to remember consistently by practicing this form of concentrated attention every time something important needs to be held in mind. When the habit is formed, it becomes automatic. And instead of being the person who consistently forgets and apologizes, you become the person who can be counted on, whose attention can be trusted, whose word means something because they actually follow through. Try this exercise. Select a picture or photograph. Study for 2 minutes with full attention. Observe every detail. Then close your eyes and recall as much as you can. What was in the foreground? The middle? The background? What colors? What shapes? What expressions? Then open your eyes and check your recall against the actual image. Note every error and every gap. Close your eyes again. This time your mental image will be more accurate. Practice until the mental image corresponds in every detail to the original. Nature is one of the finest instructors in concentration available to us. When we are genuinely present in the natural world, listening, observing, attending to what is actually happening around us, we begin to connect with something in ourselves that the noise and speed of modern life tends to obscure. Children demonstrate this instinctively. Watch a child working on a genuinely difficult problem. At the moment, it becomes too hard to figure out by effort alone. They will go still. They will lean on their elbow, listening, waiting. And then if you are watching, you'll see a sudden illumination cross their face, and they're off again. The child knows without being taught that sometimes the answer comes not through more effort, but through quieting into genuine receptivity. Great doctors, great writers, great engineers all practice some version of this. They hold the question in their mind. They attend to it deeply, and then they wait. And the answer comes from somewhere that feels like outside the ordinary thinking process, but is actually the deeper intelligence within, surfacing when the surface noise has quieted enough to let it through. If you want to solve difficult problems, well, learn to do what the child does. Concentrate. Hold the question steadily. And then quiet yourself enough to receive what comes. Chapter 16. How concentration can fulfill your desire. It is a spiritual law that the desire to do something necessarily implies the ability to do it. Think about that carefully. If you genuinely desire something, the desire itself is evidence that the capacity to achieve it exists within you. Not that it will come without effort, not that the road will be clear, but that the fundamental capacity is there. You have all heard of Aladdin's lamp, the magical object that granted any wish its owner could think of. That is, of course, a fairy tale. But what the fairy tale points toward is a real truth. Within every human being there is a power, when properly developed and correctly applied, to bring their deepest desires into reality. Not magically, without effort, but through the intelligent direction of very real inner forces. If you have not been able to satisfy your deepest longings, it is time to learn how to use the God-given powers that are genuinely available to you. You have latent possibilities that, when developed, can reveal knowledge and opportunities, and ways of living that are currently foreign to you. They are not beyond you. They are simply ahead of where you are right now, waiting for the development that will make them accessible. Every natural desire can be gratified. This is not a reckless claim. It would be contradictory for a universe that generates such specific and powerful desires in human beings to make those desires fundamentally ungratifiable. The wanting is part of the design, and the design includes a capacity to fulfill the wanting, provided it is pursued with right intent and sustained effort. Man must learn to depend more and more on himself, to go inward for the source of his real guidance and real power. It is from within that the true force to solve practical difficulties ultimately comes. Looking outward for solutions, waiting for circumstances to change, for someone else to provide the answer, is looking in the wrong direction. The cause of most failure is precisely this. People search in the wrong direction, not because they are incapable, but because they are not yet conscious of the real powers within them. The infinite helps only those who help themselves. There is no special exemption from effort, no shortcut around the work, but the person who genuinely believes, who hopes with real conviction, who makes their demand through concentrated thought, and then acts with full commitment, receives a kind of help that the passive person never encounters. Things begin to align, opportunities appear. The right person crosses their path at the right moment, not coincidence, the result of the mental demand working through channels we do not fully see. Here is how to use this principle practically. Form a clear mental image of what you want to accomplish. Not vague, not dreamy, clear and specific. This image becomes, in the language of how the mind works, a thought seed, and a thought seed planted firmly in the creative region of the mind and kept alive through consistent daily attention, attracts thoughts of a similar nature to itself. It begins to draw toward you the people, the resources, the ideas, and the circumstances that are aligned with what you have planted. Practice concentrating on one specific desire for 5 minutes each day. Shut everything else out. Be absolutely certain that you will succeed. Tell yourself that every obstacle will be overcome, that you will rise above every unfavorable condition that surrounds you. Write out your thoughts on what lies nearest your heart. Do this little by little, adding to it as new ideas come. Each day as you focus on the central purpose, new plans, new methods, new ideas will flash into your mind. There's a law of attraction operating that actively helps you toward your goal once it is sincerely and clearly formed. Think of an advertiser who begins thinking carefully about a specific campaign. He has his own initial ideas, but he wants more. He begins looking actively for relevant material, and suddenly it seems to be everywhere. Books, plans, designs, articles he had not known existed suddenly appear, not because they just arrived in the world. They were there all along, but his concentrated attention on that specific subject activated his ability to notice them. The same principle operates in every field of human endeavor. When the mind is fully focused on a purpose, it begins to perceive everything relevant to that purpose with a clarity it simply did not have before. The help that comes in response to genuine concentrated desire may sometimes seem miraculous. It may arrive slowly, but once the silent, unseen forces are put into motion through sincere and sustained effort, they work toward the result as long as you do your part. Form a strong mental image of your desire. Plant that thought seed. Water it with daily attention. Keep it alive with belief. And over time, the image you've been holding will begin to take material form. One condition, stated simply, the desire must be good. It must not require harm to another. It must be in alignment with justice and genuine service. All good things are possible for you to have, but only as you bring your inner forces into harmony with the fundamental law that requires us to treat our fellow travelers with fairness and respect. Think clearly about what you want. If it is genuinely good for you to have, say clearly, I want this. I am going to work to secure it. The way will open for me. Keep completely free from doubt and fear. These are the destructive forces. They are not just unpleasant feelings. They are literally disruptive to the process of manifestation because they introduce into the equation a counterforce that works against what you are trying to build. At last, if you are faithful in this practice, you will create the conditions you have been working toward. You will receive help from unexpected sources. Life will begin to feel fundamentally different because you will have shifted from being someone who things happen to into someone who makes things happen through the intelligent, directed use of inner power. Chapter 17. Ideals developed by concentration. We are all idealists to some degree. Every one of us carries within us an image of something better, something more, something that we are reaching for even if we cannot always name it clearly. And upon the quality of the ideals we hold in our minds, our ultimate success and happiness depend to an extraordinary degree. You must have the mental image before you can produce the material thing. Everything that has ever been built, invented, created, or achieved was first built in the mind of the person who then went on to build it in the world. This is not a philosophical observation. It is a practical principle. Mental creation always precedes physical creation. The architect first sees the building in their imagination. The inventor first assembles a machine in their mind. The business builder first inhabits the enterprise in their thinking before it exists in reality. When you genuinely control your thoughts, you become a creator in the fullest sense. You receive ideas from the deep well of human intelligence and shape them to your own specific situation and purpose. Your happiness and success are not determined by what happens to you. They are determined by the ideals you hold and act from. You are responsible for every condition you move through, either consciously or unconsciously. The next step you take determines the step after that, and the one after that. Concentrate on each step as you take it, and you avoid the enormous waste of motion that comes from moving in circles. You can choose a straight path rather than a wandering one. Here is the vital practice. Concentrate on your ideals until they become material actualities. Through concentration, we work out our ideals in the physical world. Your future is being shaped right now by the ideals you are currently holding. Your past ideals have determined where you are today. So if you want a different future, you must begin today to build the ideals that will shape it. People are said to be as changeable as the weather. What that really means is that their ideals change constantly. Every time the ideal changes, the direction of thinking changes. Every time the thinking changes, the behavior changes. And the person who keeps changing their ideal becomes like a ship without a rudder, driven by every wind that comes along. The discipline of holding to your ideal until it becomes reality is one of the most powerful practices in the development of genuine character. Here's a common example. You begin a day determined that nothing will make you lose your temper or your poise. That is your ideal for the day. Something happens. Someone says something. A situation arises that irritates you. And in that moment, if you forget your ideal for even a second, if you stop holding it clearly in mind, you lose your poise. You react instead of responding. You were not defeated by the circumstance. You were defeated by forgetting what you stood for. Every time an ideal is shattered through forgetfulness or lack of will, you weaken your willpower slightly. Every time you hold to your ideal, in spite of pressure, you strengthen it. These tiny daily decisions accumulate over time into the character you actually have. Why do so many people fail to become what they aspired to? Not because their aspirations were unrealistic, but because they did not hold to their ideal consistently enough and long enough for it to become a mental habit. When the ideal is held to the exclusion of all contradicting thoughts, when it is believed incompletely, it becomes real. That is the law. I am that which I think myself to be. Hold that sentence. Think about what it actually means. Not that you become whatever you casually or briefly think about, but that the consistent, concentrated, deeply held image of yourself, maintained over time, shapes you into its likeness. Life is one continuous unfolding. You can be happy at every stage of it or miserable. The difference lies almost entirely in how you relate to the quiet promptings that come from the deepest part of you. We cannot hear those promptings with ordinary hearing. They come in, something like the language of dreams, not to a few special people, but to everyone. They're the grandest thoughts, the deepest inklings of who we could be and what we could do. We can honor them or ignore them. The choice, as always, is ours. You must give genuine time to concentrated, consistent, persistent thought about yourself and your purpose. Study your own weaknesses, not to condemn yourself, but to understand yourself and work deliberately toward improvement. No one gets over a fence by wishing themselves to the other side. You must climb, and no one escapes the rut of a dull and monotonous life by merely wishing themselves out. You must make the effort. You must climb out deliberately and consistently until the rut is behind you and you are standing on new ground. If you're standing still or moving backward, there is something wrong. Find out what it is. Do not blame circumstances or other people or bad luck. Do not look around at those who have what you wish you had and pity yourself for lacking it. Instead, look at how they got what they have. They worked for it. They concentrated for it. They held their ideal and moved toward it. That path is available to you. 2. Take it. Chapter 18. Mental control through creation. There's a force that moves between human minds that is not fully explained by any ordinary understanding of how communication works. We are all aware of it at some level, even if we have never named it. Directly, you think of someone and they call. You frame a thought and someone else speaks it. You decide to bring something up with a colleague, and before you open your mouth, they raise the subject themselves. These are not coincidences. They are glimpses of a deeper reality. The mind is a transmitter as well as a receiver, and the quality and intensity of what it transmits has real effects on the people and circumstances around it. If we can build instruments capable of sending wireless signals across thousands of miles, is there any reason why the human mind, which is capable of depths that no instrument has ever reached, cannot transmit influence from person to person? The wireless signal requires energy and direction. Thought requires the same, and thought has the advantage of an interior origin that requires no physical infrastructure. The day will come when the power of organized, directed thought in a business context is taken as seriously as any other operational resource. The most successful organizations are already, whether they know it or not, operating on this principle. In a great company where everyone is working toward a genuine shared purpose, where the atmosphere is saturated with a high standard of effort and integrity, individuals within that organization feel a pull toward their best work that they cannot always explain. The whole environment is charged with a particular quality of expectation and commitment, and it shapes everyone within it. You can use this principle deliberately. If there's a friend or colleague you genuinely want to see succeed, think about them as succeeding. Picture them in the position you want for them. If they have a weakness that is holding them back, concentrate on seeing that weakness replaced by strength. Spend a few minutes each day sending them concentrated thoughts of encouragement and genuine positive expectation. This is not naive. It is a practical application of the law of mental influence. You can genuinely help others through the quality and direction of your thought toward them. We are all in a state of either advancing or retreating. There is no standing still. Every time you accomplish something, you build the capacity for something greater. Every time you shrink from a challenge, you make the next challenge slightly harder. The accumulation of small choices in either direction shapes, over time, the entire arc of a life. Every great leader generates enthusiasm in those around them. They create, through the force of their concentrated mental and moral presence, a field of energy that lifts the people who enter it. The great generals, the great teachers, the great business builders, they all had this quality. And the source of it was not magical personal charisma. It was concentrated inner conviction and genuine commitment to purpose. If your business, your work, your life is to be conducted in the right spirit, you must instill your genuine thoughts and ideals into everything you do and everyone you work with, not by force, not by pressure, but by the quality of your own concentrated commitment to what is right and excellent. That quality radiates. Those around you absorb it. Over time, it shapes the culture of everything you are involved with. The mind cannot be separated from the forces of its environment. This is why environment matters so much. If the atmosphere where you work is not helpful to your best self, it will be harmful to it. A change of environment at the right moment can genuinely transform a person's trajectory, not because something magical happened, but because the mental forces surrounding them shifted, and they shifted in response. No person was meant to live entirely alone with their own thoughts. Isolation narrows the mind. It weakens the mental powers, like tends to attract like in all things. If you want to remain young in spirit, spend time with people who have that quality. If you want to think more expansively, spend time with people who think expansively. The associations you maintain are not neutral. They are shaping you in the same way that you are shaping them. The up-to-date approach to building any organization is to help the people within it think and reason better, to help them see beyond the immediate problem to the larger possibility, to prevent the waste of time and energy that comes from dwelling on difficulty rather than on solution. The business or institution that learns to organize the mental forces of its people toward a common good purpose becomes, quite literally, more than the sum of its parts. We are surrounded by forces of which we currently understand very little. Our knowledge of the inner forces of the mind is still in its early stages. Each year, we learn more about the subtle processes by which thought shapes reality. Those who learn to believe in these forces, to understand them better, and to use them wisely will increasingly direct the lives of those around them. The future belongs to those who develop their mental powers deliberately and apply them with genuine goodwill. Chapter 19. A concentrated will development. The will can be trained. It is not a fixed quantity that some people have in abundance and others have only a little. It is a capacity that responds to exercise exactly as the muscles of the body respond. To exercise, train it and it grows, neglect it and it weakens, and the person who develops a genuinely trained will has a dynamo within them capable of drawing untold power to whatever they direct it toward. The finest quality was expressed not in grand dramatic moments, but in the quiet, private life, in the small daily choices of whether to be fair or unfair, pure of thought or careless, patient or intolerant, whether to live up to the highest standard we know or to quietly let it slip. All of these are governed by the will, and therefore every day of ordinary living is full of opportunities to train the will. Your success in the exercises that follow depends on your bringing to them a spirit of genuine earnestness, not performance, not going through the motions, real engagement with real attention and real intention. Here is the first exercise series. Choose a quiet room. Have a watch available and a notebook for recording your experiences. Sit in a chair and look at the doorknob in front of you for 10 minutes. That is all. Simply look at it without allowing your attention to wander. At first, this will feel strange and will seem to have little point. Your thoughts will drift. Bring them back. Do this every day for 6 days. First day, the time will feel long. Your mind will resist the stillness and look for somewhere more interesting to go. This is exactly what you are working against. Hold on. Second day, the time passes slightly more quickly. You may feel a small increase in steadiness, a faint sense that you are beginning to master something. Third day, If you have had a busy day, your mind will try to return to it. Keep bringing your attention back to the doorknob. This is concentration under real conditions. The effort it takes is exactly where the benefit lives. Fourth day, you may notice that you can return your attention to the doorknob more easily now. The tendency to move unnecessarily is diminishing. A sense of growing mastery begins to emerge. Fifth day, the intensity of your concentration is deepening. You are beginning to feel that you could center your attention on anything you chose to. Sixth day, you can fix your attention on the doorknob almost instantly. You have genuinely mastered this exercise. You are ready for the next. The second exercise series. Take a pack of playing cards. Each day, at the same time, lay the cards down on top of each other, one by one, as slowly and as evenly as possible, with each card completely covering the one beneath it. Do this as slowly as your patience allows. Continue for 6 days. First day, the slowness will feel tedious and will go against every instinct. You'll want to speed up. That resistance is exactly what you are training. Do not give in to it. Second day, you begin to see that you can modulate your speed at will, fast or slow as you choose. Third day, still difficult to maintain the slowness deliberately. Your will pushes towards speed. This is the exercise revealing its value. It is making your impulsive, fast-moving nature visible to you so that you can work with it consciously. Fourth day, more precision, more control. The mathematical placing of each card becomes something you can genuinely direct. Fifth day, a deep sense of growing poise, a new control over movement that translates into a new control over thought. The jerky, impulsive quality begins to smooth. Sixth day, you begin to feel the real possibilities of what a trained will can do. You accomplish more and better work. Whatever your task, your will is concentrated on it, and you are beginning to understand that determination imparts compelling force to the will. The will and the end act on each other. When you are more determined, the will exerts itself more fully. Seventh day, try to do everything you do today at a higher speed than usual, but without hurrying and without becoming nervous. The retardation exercises have steadied your nerves enough to support genuine speed. You can now move quickly and remain calm simultaneously. Your will is under your direction. Command it. Make it execute your resolutions rapidly and well. Write out your observations from each day, not a performance, a genuine record of what you experienced. Over time, these notes will show you your own development in a way that is both encouraging and revealing. For those who cannot commit to daily exercises, here is the simplified approach to will training. By willing and following through, the will grows, period. Whatever task is before you, concentrate your full will on it and complete it. Make a rule not to leave things half done. Build the habit of getting things done, of carrying through on what you decide. Acquire the feeling of capability, of being someone who can be counted on to complete what they begin. This gives you a confidence and a sense of power that comes from nowhere else. You know, in a practical and earned way, that when you form a resolution, you will keep it. The education of the will should never be left to chance. Definite tasks, consistently completed, are what build it. Self-study and self-discipline are the tools. The cost is effort, time, and patience. The return is self-mastery, personal power, and a quality of character that enables genuine leadership. Ability is common. Organizing, initiative, and creative power are not. The person who is a trained will can direct their ability and the ability of those around them. They are not just capable. They are productive. They are the ones who build things, who create things, who make the organization around them function at a higher level than it would without them. There is within every one of us, when we have developed enough to access it, what might be called the driving force of the will. It is not thought. It is not emotion. It is a quality that lives deeper than either of those. It is a force that arises when you are genuinely committed to a worthy purpose. The force that says, I will do this, and means it absolutely. Great people become aware of this force and learn to call on it deliberately. And once it is summoned, difficulties that seemed immovable begin to yield. Think of the remarkable truth of your own physical existence. The body you carry through the world is worth, by any material reckoning, far more than any possession you will ever own. It is a machine of extraordinary subtlety and complexity, capable of things that no technology has come close to replicating. Do you take care of it with the same attention and respect you would give to a precious and irreplaceable possession? Irregular sleep, poor nutrition, the dulling effects of substances, the endless depletion of energy on worthless distractions, these are not minor matters. They directly affect the quality of your mental and spiritual life, including your capacity to concentrate and to direct your will. Seek out people who know more than you do, and when you are with them, listen more than you speak. There are many people of 40, 50, 60 years old who could still dramatically change the trajectory of their lives if only the spark could be found that would ignite the energy that is still within them going to waste. That spark is the will trained and deliberately applied. Each person must find and apply their own solution. No one can do it for you, but the tools are here. The principles are clear. The exercises are simple. All that remains is the will to use them. Chapter 20. Concentration reviewed. We have come now to the final chapter of this remarkable work. And before we close, the author wants to return once more to the single, most important idea in everything we have covered together, because those who grasp it fully and act on it consistently will make the most of every opportunity life presents to them, and those who do not will often find themselves wondering why their potential never quite translated into the life they imagined. The idea is this: concentration is the essential practice underlying every form of genuine achievement. Those who lack it will generally struggle with poverty and unhappiness. Their life's work will tend toward failure, not because they lacked talent or opportunity, but because they never developed the capacity to sustain directed effort long enough for it to produce lasting results. But those who develop and use concentration consistently will make the most of their gifts, their opportunities, their relationships, and their time. They will live a fuller life. Simply reading these lessons will not be enough. The ideas in this book can awaken something in you. They can stimulate and inspire, but That awakening only becomes genuinely valuable when it leads to action, to practice, to the consistent application of these principles in the daily reality of your life. The best instruction can only help you to the extent that you put it into practice. Here is a method for reading books of this kind more effectively. Read through the whole book first for the overall understanding it gives. Then read it again. This time, when you encounter an idea that resonates, stop, think about it, feel it becoming real for you. If it applies to your situation, repeat it quietly. Let it settle into you. In this way, you build the habit of extracting the genuine gold from what you read and letting it actually change you rather than simply passing through your awareness and disappearing. Concentrate on what you are doing, not most of the time, all of the time, especially while the habits of concentration are still being formed. Until the habit of mastered, focused attention is deeply established, your improvement will be slow. But once it takes root, it grows surprisingly quickly, and its application to every area of life produces results that seem almost disproportionate to the effort that went into building it. Read the life of any genuinely great person, and you will almost always find this. The dominant quality that made them successful was their ability to concentrate. And study the lives of those who failed despite clear talent, and you will almost always find the opposite. The lack of concentration at the crucial moments, the inability to sustain direction, the habits of distraction that dissipated energy that could have built something lasting. One thing at a time, and that done well. It is a good rule as any ever given. Not all people are born with equal natural endowments, but the way those endowments are used determines everything. Opportunity does come to every person at some point. The successful hear it when it knocks, and they act. Those who fail believe that luck and circumstances are against them. They blame the world rather than themselves. And in doing so, they ensure that the same pattern repeats. We get what is coming to us. Nothing more, nothing less. Everything within the universe is, in principle, within your reach. Use your latent powers, and it becomes practically yours. You are aided in ways both visible and invisible when you concentrate genuinely on doing or being what you truly should. Everyone is capable of some concentration, because without it you could not function at all. The difference between people lies in how long they can sustain it, how deep they can take it, and how broadly they can apply it. That capacity is built by practice, and the amount of determined, consistent will you bring to that practice determines how quickly and how fully it develops. Never say, I cannot concentrate today. The moment you say that, you are really saying, I will not try, because you can concentrate. The instant you say, I will, you can hold your attention steady on anything you choose in the same way that you can move your arm. You are the master of your own will. The only question is whether you use that mastery. The big mistake, repeated endlessly, is a habit of thinking I cannot. That thought, which is really a refusal dressed as an inability, stops effort before it starts. The person who thinks I can and acts from that conviction finds that it was true. The person who thinks I cannot and does not act confirms their belief by the very inaction it produces. Some people get in the habit of thinking they cannot, and they fail. Others form a habit of thinking they can, and they succeed. You decide right now and every day which army you belong to. Whenever you feel the words "I cannot" forming, replace them immediately with "I possess all the will I need, and I can use as much of it as I choose to." You have only ever used as much as you have trained yourself to use, and that training can begin at any moment, including this one. Before you sleep tonight, try this. Repeat these words. I am going to choose my own thoughts and to hold them as long as I choose. I am going to shut out all thoughts that weaken or interfere. All thoughts that make me timid or doubtful. My will is as strong as anyone's. Say these words again on your way to whatever comes next. In your day, keep saying them. Keep building this new self-image in place of the old limited one. Do this for a month and watch what changes. Concentration is at its foundation. Simply willing to do a certain thing and doing it. All foreign thoughts can be kept out by willing that they stay out. You do not realize your possibilities until you actually begin to direct your mind. When you start doing consciously what you used to do unconsciously, you begin to see clearly. You catch your mistakes. You overcome your bad habits. You refine your conduct and your character day by day, step by step. The person you intended to become starts to be the person you actually are. You have, at various times in your life, shown unexpected courage when the moment required it. You have surprised yourself with what you were capable of. What you must now understand is that you do not need a special occasion to call that power into action. It is within you at all times. The same courage, the same determination, the same depth of will that showed itself in those exceptional moments is yours to call upon in any ordinary moment you choose. It is part of your vast inner resources. Use it often and well in building the highest version of your life that you are genuinely capable of living. Form your highest ideal. Live up to it. Raise it when you reach it. Do not waste time on reading or activity that does not move you toward your purpose. Select what is genuinely inspiring, what opens you to the thoughts and the feeling states that lift you. Read slowly and with full attention. Let the spirit of what you read actually reach you, not just the words. Pay constant attention to one thing at a time. Stay with it until it is done. Think before you speak. Keep your conversation connected and purposeful. Speak slowly and clearly. Never hurry. Be deliberate in all you do. Keep still when you should be still. Associate with people who are steady, patient, and tireless in their thought and work. See how long you can sit quietly with one uninterrupted thought. These are not advanced techniques. They are fundamental practices. And their consistent application will change your life more than any amount of clever strategy. And finally, when you think about all of this, the character you are building, the habits you are forming, the will you are training, the ideals you're holding, remember that in the end, only what is built inside you goes with you. The external achievements matter, but they are secondary to who you become in pursuing them. If your character, your conduct, and the growth of your soul are what they should be, You need not fear for your success and happiness. With those qualities genuinely in place, you can mold the external materials of your life into almost anything. Study yourself. Find your strengths and build them further. Find your weaknesses and work deliberately to transform them. See yourself clearly, not to judge, to understand. And from that understanding, make the adjustments that move you steadily toward the person you were, always meant to be. Right thinking, right living, and the concentrated application of all your powers toward worthy purposes. This is a secret, not a mystery, not a shortcut, but a discipline practiced daily that leads unmistakably to a life of genuine accomplishment and lasting happiness. And so we come to the end of our time together with this remarkable book. What you have just heard is not a book about thinking harder or working longer or pushing yourself further into exhaustion. It is something else entirely. It is an invitation to wake up to the power that is already within you, the power that is yours by nature and by right, the power that most people drift through their entire lives without ever fully discovering or claiming. The one idea at the center of everything in this book is breathtakingly simple. Where your attention goes, your life goes. The force that creates your future is a force of your own concentrated mind and will, applied consistently in alignment with what is genuinely good and true and worthy. You do not need special gifts. You do not need perfect circumstances. You do not need luck. You need the will to concentrate, the will to choose your thoughts deliberately rather than being chosen by them, the will to hold your direction when everything in you and around you suggests giving up, the will to make day after day the small choices that accumulate into character. Theron Q. Dumont wrote these words in a world very different from ours. In its outward appearance, the technology has changed beyond anything he could have imagined. The pace and noise of daily life have multiplied in ways that would have astonished him, but the fundamental nature of the human mind has not changed at all. It still operates by the same laws. It still produces results in proportion to how well it is directed. It is still capable of things its owner has not yet. Imagine you are that owner. The book you have heard today is most valuable not as something to agree with or admire, but as something to practice. Pick one exercise. Start tonight. Hold a single thought for 5 minutes. Sit still for 10. Make the decision you have been avoiding. Write down the ideal you've been carrying silently. Begin, because in the end, concentration is not just a skill for success in business or in building career. It is the art of actually living your life, of being fully present for it, of bringing everything you have to each moment rather than sleepwalking through it. It is the difference between a life that was lived and a life that merely happened. You are not someone to whom things merely happen. You are the director of your own life, and the power to direct it fully and deliberately and well is already in your hands. Go forward. Concentrate. Build. Become. If this audiobook has added something of value to your life, please consider subscribing to this channel. When you subscribe, you help more people discover books like this one. Books that were written to genuinely help, not simply to entertain. Leave a comment sharing one. idea from this book that you intend to put into practice. And if you know someone who is working hard to build a better life, share this recording with them. The best ideas are always worth passing forward. Thank you for listening. And remember, one thing at a time, and that, done well,